Often people have asked me the question, is man the last rung of evolution? Obviously, when such a question is asked, I presume the person knows a little bit of Aurobindo and the mother, Aurobindo's philosophy of evolution at least. Because when we use the word rung, itself denotes that there are steps, as there are steps, rungs in a ladder. And the moment we mention a ladder, it means there is a ladder that has a double purpose. Because from a ladder, we can descend, come down, or we can ascend, go up. So this entire question is based on this theory of involution and evolution, which is nothing but a ladder, which is a kind of a double ladder. One ladder, we descend the steps, and by ascending, the same steps are there. So when we say the word involution, that means something has come down step by step. And when there is an evolution, something goes up step by step, the same steps. It doesn't use a different ladder. The same steps are used to go up. That essentially is the concept of involution and evolution. So when there has been a descent, what descended down the ladder? It's the divine consciousness. It's the Supreme Sachidananda who descends step by step through the process of Supermind, through the agency of Supermind. Step by step it descends. And at each step, there has been a change. There has been a transformation. There has been a kind of a veiling of the consciousness. Veiling means, in a sense, when you veil yourself by different clothes upon oneself, and what happens? There is a darkness that sets in. And there's a kind of a densification of the consciousness that sets in. And there is a coldness that sets in. So all this densification, delimitation leads the consciousness to different levels. And slowly it starts losing its light, its flexibility, its power. And therefore, when the Supreme Consciousness lands in its last step where we say it consummates, that step is called matter. And when this step is reached, then we say there is the beginning of the ascent, or there's a beginning of the evolutionary process. So once we understand this concept, then only we can say there has been the first step of the ladder, or the first rung of the ladder has been matter to life. The last rung we say is matter. The next rung is life. And life also comes on in matter after billions of years. The scientists have informed us, have told us how the life comes out. But they have not told us why it comes out. Life comes out of matter because life is already embedded in matter. It pre-exists in matter. How does it pre-exist? It exists because at the time of involution, after life comes matter. So life has come into matter. So what we understand is, matter is the womb, is a storehouse of all the steps of the ladder. It's like the antenna, if you can remember, if you can imagine. All the steps of the antenna are, if you compress them into the last step, into the last rung, you'll see that is called the matter. And when you pull out each step, each stage of the antenna, there's a second stage which we call life. And then there's a third stage which we call mind. But remember, when there has been an involution, there have been 7 steps of the antenna which have been compressed into matter. So if you understand this concept, it becomes easy to understand rationally that we cannot call after man a halt to evolution. Because if you remember, in this involution, it is a supermind which had been compressed into mind, and mind compressed into life, and life compressed into matter. So obviously in the reverse process, we have arrived at a stage of mind, that is the third level of the antenna or the evolutionary process of the rung. So it's but natural that after mind, nature is awaiting to pull up the next rung, the next level, which is called the supermind. So humanity has come to a level where it is struggling to pull out the next level of consciousness, which is the supramental consciousness. And therefore, man, with all his perfection and with all his imperfections, cannot yet be the full man who is really intended to be nature's supremost creation. What is the nature's greatest creation? What is nature wanting to create? A being which is similar to the divine. A being which is a replica of the divine. And man definitely is not a replica of the divine, with all his imperfections, limitations, impurities and problems and all that. So of course man has been given by nature the element called the psychic being. And that psychic being is kind of the guide to humanity to tell us that how it can change, it can really take us to the next step. That is why in the evolutionary process, Aurobindo emphasizes very much that the best way, the only way for man to go to the next level is to psychicize himself. It's not the same thing as the ancients have told us about the realization of the soul. There are thousands of people who have realized the soul, but they have not been transformed into the supermind. Aurobindo would tell us that once you realize the psychic being, we must have the psychic being guiding our mind, our feelings, our emotions, our life, and our body even. Not only guiding, influencing and putting its light and power. This process is called the psychicization. Through this process, then we are closer to the higher consciousness called the supramental consciousness. In fact, there is a little clarification here. Between man and the supermind, supramental being, there's an in-between race called the new race, or the race of the Superman. After the race of the Superman, there is the supramental being. So the psychic being takes us first to this level of the Superman. And then the Supermen, when they are there upon earth, they will further evolve into the supramental beings. So obviously, we understand there's a long way to go. And yet, we have to accept and realize that man is not the last word of the supreme beautiful creation. When the supreme divine himself descended upon earth, obviously, earth is in the process of transformation. It has not yet become the divine, obviously not. And yet that does not mean that we throw this earth away as something ignorant and leave the earth saying it's a bad experience. We have to be on earth and transform it. So in this light, if we understand, it becomes rational, it becomes spiritual, to understand that man is definitely not the last rung, is not the highest aspiration of nature or the highest rung of this evolutionary process. This is what, in simple words, I would say. I hope we understand this question and it answers your question. That is man, the last rung of nature.